I have a theory that Jax from the Amazing Digital Circus might not be a real human at all, but instead, he's actually one of Kane's AIs that made it through the cracks and escaped into the circus, and now he's fooling everyone. The first piece of evidence for this, which I think is quite weird, is actually from the show's merchandise. If we look at the pin set, we can see all of the characters coming with illustrations of their rooms. Jax, however, is the exception. If you look, you will see that Jax is actually outside of his room, but all of the other characters are inside their room. There might be something going on with Jax and the rooms too. If he has keys for everyone's rooms, he must have gotten them somewhere, right? Well, I think it's possible that Kane could have actually gave it to him. If you've noticed, in the beginning of episode 2, Pomni's door didn't quite seem to be locked or anything, and while Kaufmo's was locked, he was also inside of it just like Pomni. This could show that maybe Jax is setting Pomni and Ragatha up. He knew that he would unlock the door and leave them for dead. But there's another discrepancy that sets Jax apart from the rest of the humans, and this one is big. Every character in the Amazing Digital Circus is something from, well, a circus, or some kind of wacky inanimate object. Well, everyone except for Jax. Pomni is a jester, Ragatha is a doll, Zooble is a toy, Gingle is a ribbon girl with a drama mask, and Kinger is a chess piece. But what is Jax? He's just an anthropomorphic rabbit, or a furry, or something. He's seemingly the only one who doesn't fit into the Amazing Digital Circus theming in the slightest. But how does this make Jax an NPC? At first, these all seem like minor coincidences, but there is so much more to this theory. When the humans first get into the digital circus, they retain their personality, their consciousness, as well as their humanity. You probably see where I'm going with this now. Jax doesn't really have any kind of humility, empathy, or any signs of being a human. Something that everyone else, even Zooble, who seems to be quite rude too, seems to care about their friends and others. Jax is the only outlier here. He's rude to everyone, he hurts people, talks to people like they're nothing, and just generally treats their friends like they're toys, or that they're worthless, which is not normal behavior in real life. Nor is it normal in the Amazing Digital Circus. Another thing worth bringing up again is Jax's behavior. We all know that Jax doesn't quite act like the average human. He's just an NPC who tries to blend in with a bunch of humans to try not to get killed, kind of like Gummy Goo. I mean, think about it. Why are any of the NPCs created in the first place? They all have a purpose for being created. The Candy Princess was there to explain to the gang their mission. Bubble is there to serve Kane, I think. Why does Bubble actually exist? And NPCs like the Gloinks and our boy Gummy Goo were there to serve as an obstacle for the gang as well to be the important part of the adventure that Kane sends everyone in the digital circus on. So, what I'm trying to say is that maybe Jax was made for a specific reason like every other one of the NPCs. So, what exactly is Jax planning? If he's an NPC that infiltrated the digital circus, he must be up to something, right? Firstly, Jax could just be generally mischievous and scandalous to mess with everyone. If you watch Jax's behavior closely, it doesn't really seem like he wants to kill anyone, at least not directly. He puts all the characters in possibly lethal danger all the time in both episodes. He's thrown bowling balls at people, making them fall into Zooble holes. He's thrown Pomni out of a truck, and he's even allowed the Fudge Monster to come into the Candy Canyon Kingdom. This last one, I think, is less outrageous once you consider that Jax knows that the Candy people are only NPCs. Something not a lot of people brought up is that when Gummy Goo found out his brothers were NPCs, he didn't seem to be sad to leave them behind in the digital circus, even after he knew that they would probably be eaten up by the Fudge Monster. This would probably be the exact same for Jax as well. He knows that they aren't real, and even if he's an NPC himself, he's somewhat over them because he's broken free. He knows what he is, so just like Gummy Goo, he's not much different from a real member of the digital circus. Overall, Jax isn't really known for being straight up evil, but he is seen to be quite cruel at times. What if Jax has more behind him than he lets on? Well, I would like to think that Jax isn't evil and could have some form of redemption. I also think it's just as easy to say that he has some sort of nefarious plans that we don't quite know about yet. He lives with all of the members of the digital circus and has to hang out with them pretty much all of the time. So you'd think that being detached from the group would make him feel pretty lonely and isolated, but honestly, he just seems to be enjoying himself more than any other character character trapped in the digital world, and I think that might be because he's not actually trapped, but because he's there to do one thing. Jax could be staying with everyone in the digital circus so that he can watch and learn about them, and with this information, it might allow him to carry out whatever evil plan he has to destroy them. But if he's actually got an evil plan, then why exactly would he be mean to them instead of gaining their trust? I think that Jax was afraid that he might have gotten too friendly with the gang, so he decided the best course of action would to be just mean enough so that no one would like him. But at that point, he wouldn't be upset that he would have to do whatever he was planning without feeling bad for what he does. Thinking about it, if he was super nice to everyone in the digital circus and gained their trust, when it came time to eradicate everyone or unleash his evil plan, he would probably have felt some sort of remorse for what he did at the end. But Jax's plan might not be working as well as he thinks. In the scene where everyone is mourning over the loss of Kaufmo and is gathered around the coffin for his funeral, Jax actually seems somewhat sad, and then walks away to avoid feeling weak. I think that though Jax thought he could go through with this thought out plan, the cracks are slowly starting to show, and Jax might actually change his mind, as it's already been shown that NPCs can actually change. But now we're gonna go look back at Gummy Goo and tie this whole theory up, and figure out once and for all, is Jax actually an NPC, or is he just a human that's really evil? After Pomni made friends with Gummy Goo and brought him back to the amazing digital circus, Kane instantly disintegrated him into confetti. Afterwards, Kane says this:
I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC. Who knows what could happen?
If that's true, then how is Jax an NPC? I think it's possible that Jax was somewhat of an experiment of Kane's new AI, which if that's true, this scene would make a whole lot more sense. Another thing to bring up about Gummy Goo is exactly what he was created for. He was created just to be an obstacle for the members of the circus. Maybe Jax's original task and purpose was the same as Gummy Goo's. Kane could have sent the characters in the amazing digital circus on some sort of adventure that involved Jax as an NPC. But he somehow found a way to sneak into the digital circus. And I'm sure that there's a few ways this could have happened too. Maybe he knew that this would happen after the adventure was over, considering that the place the NPCs live usually gets unloaded after it stops being needed by Kane. So it's possible that everyone inside dies. Or maybe Jax somehow found a way to snuck out instead of one of the other characters who died in his place. Or potentially another character had a similar run-in with Jax that Pomni had with Gummy Goo, and Kane somehow didn't find out. This might make even more sense when you see Ragatha's reaction to Pomni inviting Gummy Goo into the digital circus. She seems reluctant to let him in because she knows exactly what happened last time. Jax bullies Ragatha worst out of anyone else. So it would make sense that, even though she didn't say it, another Jax is probably one of the last things she would ever want to happen to her, just because of how Jax treats her and everyone else in the digital circus. That's not all though. Remember what Jax was saying when Pomni first arrived in the circus?
Is this one of your NPCs or is this a new sucker?
Jax asked Kane if Pomni is just another one of his NPCs, which is strange because Jax would know that NPCs only appear during the adventures and not when they're hanging out in the circus, which is making me think that he could be an NPC imposter. But let me know down below. Do you guys think that Jax is an NPC? Okay, click on this video right here. Goodbye.